Hi parents, welcome to Curriculum Night for your child's fourth block math class. This is Miss Rao. We will start with some basic contact information and get that out of the way. You can find my email address here at the top of the screen. And then if you have not joined my Remind yet, that would be something super helpful to do to make sure you're getting updates. You can text at 7243B to the number 810810. And before we get into the main part of the presentation, I did just want to take a minute to say how impressed I am and proud of what the kids have done so far. Going into this new virtual situation as a teacher, I didn't really know what to expect, but I can honestly say that given the circumstances, it feels as much like a regular classroom as possible. And that's only because the kids have been showing up and participating. So I really appreciate what they've done so far. And I'm proud of them for sticking in there with it, even though it's not always the easiest thing to do. Okay, so we'll start by talking about, we do have a new curriculum this year called Open Up. So the way that the material is presented, it might be a little different than what some of the students are used to. It focuses more on having the kids do activities that allow them to discover the why behind the math concepts. And the concepts that we will be looking at this year are listed here. We have 8 different units. I will not read through them to you word for word, but you can browse those on your own. Each unit will take about a month to complete. We are currently wrapping up with our first unit, which is on scale drawings. The next thing that we'll look at is grading, and this is for all of CMS. Formal grades make up 65% of a student's overall average, and those are going to be your main tests. You will have at least 3 of those per quarter. Those will always be announced ahead of time. We will have study guides that we do for those. We'll review together in class. So students will definitely be aware when those big tests are coming up. The other types of grades are called informal grades, and those will make up 35% of the overall average. So those are going to be any quizzes and then any completion and participation grades that are given throughout the week. Next up, we'll look at supplies that students will need. So most days they will need 4 different items for class. The first would be their math workbook, which you picked up from the school last week or the week before. I believe there were 4 in the bundle that you picked up. We are currently working in the Unit 1 workbook. The second item needed would be a spiral notebook to take any notes in and do some practice on questions that may not be provided in the workbook. The third item is a pencil, and the fourth item is a calculator. A TI-84 Plus is suggested, but it is not required. If we are needing any of the specific functions that are on the TI-84 Plus, there are some online tools that we can use that will mimic those same things, so we can make it work if they don't have the 84 Plus. Homework expectations. In a normal school year when we were in the building, students would typically have homework assignments, but because of the situation that we're in, I will not be assigning new assignments for students to start and finish outside of class. So the only time they should have homework is if they didn't finish a classwork assignment during the allotted time. And I will always give a sufficient amount of time for students to finish assignments during class. So it may just be that they need to kind of wrap up with something that they didn't quite finish and have time to submit, and it shouldn't really take any more than about 10 minutes to wrap up and submit those assignments. Okay, next we'll talk about quizzes and tests and kind of what the difference between those are. All quizzes, I do allow students to use their notes, so they can use their spiral notebooks and their workbooks. I think the skill of reading information in one place and then applying it to a different situation is just a crucial skill that students need to know for all areas, and something that they need practice with. So that's why I allow notes on quizzes. Tests, however, are not open notes, so by the time we get to the end of the unit, I will expect students to know the material without referring back to their notes. Okay, as I'm sure you are well aware of at this point, all of our information this year is housed on Canvas. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about some specific things for math class with regards to Canvas that would be helpful for you to know. Okay, the first thing, at the top of the home page every day in Canvas, there will be a new announcement. It will have that day's date on it. So when they open the announcement, it is going to have a link which will take them directly to the module for that day. So when they see the announcement at the top with that date and click on it, the link will take them to everything they need for class that day. So that's a super important thing to know. Okay, and then going into modules, I mentioned that the link will take them to a module. Well, what is a module? Well, I kind of like to think about a module like a lesson plan. It gives each piece of what we're going to be doing for that day. So the title will include the date, and it will show a list of items that we'll be doing in class. And each item will also be labeled with a CW for classwork or a G for graded, which means that it will be put into PowerSchool. So roughly once a week, I will pick a day to go back in and carefully check and make sure that students have submitted all of the pieces of that day's module and give a participation and completion type grade. So you should have already seen several of those in PowerSchool so far. If it has a G, that means it's going to be graded for accuracy. So that's the difference between those two types of assignments. Okay, please know many of the assignments that are graded in Canvas are only used as indicators for students and me as the teacher to gauge their current level of understanding. So for example, if there is a cool down or an exit ticket and there are only 2 questions on it and they miss 1 question, then yes, when you log into Canvas, you would see a 50%. That does not mean, however, that that grade is actually going to go into PowerSchool. So if you want to get an idea, or not an idea, if you want to know exactly what your child's average in math class currently is, you will check PowerSchool just like you would in a normal school year. So there definitely is some information you can gain by looking at the grades and assignments in Canvas, but it's going to be more just to see your students' level of understanding, how well they're understanding things on a day-to-day basis of each day's lesson, but their actual real report card type grade, you will find that in PowerSchool just like you would in a normal year. Attendance. If your child knows ahead of time that they are going to miss class because of a dentist appointment or something like that, if they will email me ahead of time to let me know, and then I can let them know anything that might be helpful for them to complete those assignments, or if it's something unexpected after the absence, please have your child email me and check in, and they should be able to find and follow along with everything in the module that's posted on Canvas, but there may be some helpful things that I can tell them to help with completing those assignments. Okay, if your child needs extra help, there are 2 main resources. The first would be at the end of every module, you will see a page for re-looping videos. So there are some very helpful videos that will review the concepts that we talked about that day. There are also some links to some Khan Academy practice as well. So that would be one resource to use if your child is needing extra help. Also, office hours for my 4th block math class will be held on Mondays and Thursdays from 12:15 to 12:45. Okay, below the video, you will see a Google form with 2 questions. So if you have any questions for me, that is where you can put those, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I've enjoyed getting to know your kids already, and I look forward to continuing to work with them. Thank you. Bye-bye.